Hello, my name is Samantha Henson, and I'm the Director of Volunteer and Care Services here at Capitol Hill Village. And today I'm going to talk with you a bit about Helpful Village. Helpful Village is the database software that we're using at Capitol Hill Village to capture information about our members, our volunteers, our programs, and it's also an important evaluation tool that we use. So we really appreciate you taking the time today to learn about Helpful Village and how you can use it here with us. So first, I'm going to show you how to get onto Helpful Village. I will show you how to log your volunteer hours, get information about members, put in member volunteer requests, and also register members for events, which are common things that you'll be doing, common ways that our volunteers interact with the system. So to get to Helpful Village, first you pull up whatever browser you're choosing to use. So I like to get to it by going to our main website, capitolhillvillage.org. And in the top right, you can see Helpful Village Login. So you click that. And then you should be provided with, you would be using your email address, and you'll be provided with a way to set up a password. So I'll put mine in. And this is what it looks like when you first log on to Helpful Village. If you're working from the office, you might have a link to Helpful Village on your desktop, which is just an easier way to get to the platform. So if you scroll down, you see some information about Helpful Village, some of the events going on, but I'm going to scroll back up. And the starting place for a lot of what we're going to be doing is this top line up here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to log volunteer hours. So as you're a volunteer, you're going to take your mouse and hover it over volunteers. And when you do that, you see reporting hours. So I'm going to click that and scroll down. And the first thing you're prompted to do is search volunteer. So that will be your name. So you can see I typed in Vol because I was looking for Tess Vollinson. I'm logging hours for Tess right now. And you'll see I just typed VOL. So if you're not, I would assume you know how to spell your own name, but if you're searching for someone else, you can always put in the first 3 letters, or it might just be a quicker way to pull up your name. So Tess Vollinson popped up. I'm going to select her. And let's click type of service. So we're going to say Tess is an office volunteer. So you can see all the different options we have, and I'm scrolling down to office volunteers. And let's say Tess volunteered with us this morning, July 26th, 2021. If I did want to change it, you just click on the month and you can select a different month, same with the day and the year. And let's say that Tess logged in today at 9 a.m. And she's logging now because she is logging out at 11 a.m. So she worked 2 hours today. There is an option if you forgot to report your hours, you can click here, or if you need a grand total. So for example, if Tess volunteered from 9 to 11 in the morning and then also 3 to 5, but I would say we don't use this as much because you can log hours from a previous week or put multiple logs for one day. So details of tasks, we had said Tess was office volunteering today, and you don't have to get too particular. You can just write office volunteering or weekly office volunteering. So say Tess was specifically working on a data gathering project. She doesn't need to write that, and it all falls within that category. And you would just hit save. So again, I'll show you all one more time. This is just our main page. I just clicked our key in the top left to get back to our main page. So to log hours, you put your mouse over volunteers. You click reporting hours, you scroll down and you search your name. You select your name when it comes up. You click the type of volunteer service. So we're doing office volunteers. You update the date of the volunteer task, whatever that might be. You update the time and any details you want to put, and you just hit save. And that is how you log your volunteer hours. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to get information about members. So maybe you need a member's contact information or something else about the member. So to pull up our members or also our volunteers, you would search person. So here in the top left of our screen where you see search person, you would type in the member's name. And again, you can just, if you don't know how to spell their name or you don't know how to spell their whole name, you can just put in the first 3 letters. So I put Mem because I'm looking for Tess Memberson. And you see I have 2 options here. So you just click on the name of the person you were looking for. And you can see all the information we have about them. So we have Tess's email address, her name. If we had her date of birth, her phone numbers, they would be here. These tags are about the emails that she'll get from us. The rights are how much access to the system she has and any relationships. So just like our homepage with this line on the top, for our members, you see a line here where you can get different information. So usually you'll be in this first general tab with email address, phone number. The second page has their mailing address or where they live. The second tab has information about their membership. So it looks like Tess is currently an active member. Any additional information, this is where you might find emergency contact information if we have it. Volunteer, if they're volunteering, you can see what type of volunteer services they do and what days they volunteer. Prospect is if they're a prospective village member, any payments they've made, any notes we have about them, activity or events they participated in, and any documents. I'll show you that one more time. So I'm going to search person in the top left corner to pull up a member's account, putting in the first 3 letters, M-E-M. Here is Tess Memberson, who I was looking for. I just clicked on her name. In the first tab, general, I have her email address, her name, her date of birth, phone numbers. In the second tab, her address. And I can click through if there's something else that I still need and haven't found. And that's how you get information about members. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to put in a volunteer request for members. So again, this is something we're doing for our members. So we're going to go to this top line up here. And because we're talking about members, I'm hovering my mouse over the word members. And right under that, you see new service request. So I'm going to click that. And again, this is if a member calls the village and asks for help from a volunteer. So maybe they need help with gardening, for example. So here we are in the new service request. And again, we're going to search the member. Something to be aware of, again, we can put in those first 3 letters if we don't know how to spell the member's name fully. It also won't pull up members who aren't active village, or it won't pull up people who aren't active village members. So if someone's membership expired, or they've never been a village member, or they're just not in our system, it won't come up here. So if you're having a hard time finding a member, just let a staff member know, and it might mean that we need to renew their membership. So I'm searching for Tess Memberson. So I put M-E-M, search, and here she is, select. So now we're working with Tess Memberson. Village Builder, you probably won't be using that so much. That is more if we have a request from the village office. So maybe we're looking for someone to do data gathering for one of our staff members. So a staff member might come and put that in. Maybe the office needs someone to hang a picture or help at an event. So it's really for volunteer requests that don't fall under a member's name. So we're going to pick the type of service. So let's say that Tess called the village and wanted help with gardening. So I'm scrolling through. You might want to familiarize yourself with these types of services so that when you need them, you'll know what categories to look for. Here we are in outdoor household tasks, gardening and leaf raking. Purpose. So this is like a one-line written description that will come up for volunteers who see the request. So Tess needs help with weeding. Service date. So you can click here and pick the date. If the date is flexible, we recommend picking a date 5 days out. So today's July 26th. So I'm going to put the request for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 31st, and say we want them to come at 8:30 a.m. before it's too hot out. But so check if flexible. So again, we put it 5 days out because it's a flexible date. Check if flexible time. We're not stuck to that 8:30 time, so I'm checking that. Approximate duration, let's say we think it'll take about an hour. And it auto-populates that the end time will be 9:30. And for member needs, really any additional information that you want to put. So maybe we want to put member has all gardening tools needed. These last two sections, check if last call, is if we've been looking for a volunteer for a long time and haven't been able to find someone. We might want to highlight it by checking if last call, check if it's important. Maybe if someone has an appointment they've been needing some support with, we want to check that. But I would say we really treat all of our volunteer requests as important and wanting to get them filled. So we don't use it so much, but it is an option. And then you just click save to save the volunteer request. I'm going to show you one more example, and I'll show you again how to get here. So we're looking, a member calls and has a volunteer request. Let's say a member calls and needs transportation to an appointment, which looks slightly different than some of our other volunteer requests. So we're thinking about a member, so we're putting our mouse over members. We're clicking new service request. Here we are with a blank service request. We're going to search for the member. Here's Tess, select. Because she needs transportation, this is not a village builder. We're not going to click that. Type of service. We're going to do driving, health, or medical because Tess needs transportation to a medical appointment. So for the purpose, the one sentence description, Tess needs one-way drive to appointment. And now the service date and the time, they are not flexible because she has an appointment. So let's say it's this Friday and she wants, the start time is going to be when the volunteer starts volunteering. So she wants the volunteer to be at her house, we'll say at 9:15. Again, this is not flexible, so we're not going to check that. But there is an appointment, so we're going to check that now. And she wants the volunteer at her house at 9:15, but let's say the appointment is at 10:30 a.m. And here we can write where the appointment is. So let's say Washington Hospital Center outpatient. That already auto-filled for me. If it didn't, you can always type in the information. Check if round trip. So this is just one way. She just needs transportation to her appointment. So I unchecked that. We try to limit how much we use the round trip because if someone does need round trip transportation, we'll likely put that in as 2 separate requests. So one volunteer will take them to the appointment and another will take them back. Approximate duration. So we wanted her to be at Tessa's house at 9:15. The appointment's at 10:15, but she just needs to get there. So let's say it's a half-hour drive. So the end time would be at 10:30. That auto-populated a little funny because she's starting at 9:15. So a half hour would be 9:45. Let me see if I can edit that. Let's put in 9:45 because it's just a half hour from the start time, which is when she's starting to drive. Member needs. Let's see, does the member have any needs? Here we can put member walks independently, but needs to put walker in trunk. Check if last call, check if important. You can check those if needed, and then you would just hit save. And that's how you do a transportation request. So once we put these requests in, what happens is the system gathers all of our volunteer requests and sends it out to our volunteers who do that specific volunteer task. So for this request, we just put in driving. Once we submit this, it'll go out to all of our driving volunteers, our transportation volunteers. And those emails get sent out to our volunteers in those categories 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, around 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's a little bit of information about service requests through Helpful Village. The last thing I'm going to show you all is how to register a member for events. So when you're in the office, you probably often hear members calling to sign up for events or get information about events. And when this happens, we're again going to look at our top line here, and we're going to hover our mouse over events. So you see the drop down, we have 2 options, events list and events calendar. And I'm just going to show you what they both look like. So if you click events list, the events are going to come up in list format. So you can see what we have going on today, Monday, July 26th. We have a few events going on. And then tomorrow. The other option, you hover your mouse over events and click events calendar. I tend to find this to be a little bit easier to find some of the events because you can pull up specific days. You can also filter out, if you click show for filter events, you can pick and choose what types of events you want to see. But most of the time, you'll just want to look at the regular calendar. So say someone calls the village and says, I want to sign up for meditation, which is on Wednesday, the 28th. So you get to your calendar, you see we're in July, and we're going to go to Wednesday, the 28th. And here's meditation. So we're going to click meditation, and it brings us to a lot of information about this event. And because they want to register, we're going to click here, register for this event. And it'll take us to this page, and we're going to search the person. So let's stick with Tess Memberson. Her name came up. I'm hitting select. And because we're adding her, we're going to accept her. 9 times out of 10, you're going to put accept. If there's a wait list, it'll let you know. Any comments, we can put Tess will be 5 minutes late, and that will show up now to the event organizer. Add guests, so say Tess wanted to add a friend. Let's say Trish Mem. And you can type their name and as many gifts as you want. You can accept if they accept the village terms and privacy policy, you can accept it. It'll still work if you don't check that off. And then you just click register for event. So again, if someone calls the village and they're interested in information about an event or registering for an event, the way that you get where you need to be is going to the top line here, hover your mouse over events. I like to use events calendar, click that. And if they, you can just basically look at the calendar and try to find the event they're referring to. And let's go to August. So here's an arrow here. We can switch to the next month. Now you see we're in August. Let's try for chair yoga on the 2nd of August. I just clicked that name. Here we are, register for this event. Clicking that. We're going to search for the member's name. Here's Tess, select, we're accepting. Comments, first time doing chair yoga. And then you register for event, and that's it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today to learn about Helpful Village. Please feel free to use our staff as a resource and know who to go to if you have any questions. We look forward to working with you, and thank you again for helping us gather this important information about the village.